welcome to the Comics Experience Graphic Novel of the Month Club for the month of February 2020. 2020, how insane is that? And our book this month is the fantastic, this is a really good book, The Deep and Dark Blue by Niki Smith, who is sitting here right next to me.
Hi.
Clap. There you go. Very good. Niki's come here all the way from Germany to talk to us. From Germany. That's pretty cool, I think. So, as I said, this is a really good book. The first question always is why comics? What you could be doing anything in the world. Why is it comics that you're doing?
I loved reading them growing up, and then I knew I wanted to be an artist, so I went to art school for college.
Okay.
And then I thought I'd be an illustrator or something like that, and then a bunch of my teachers, my professors, told me that my work felt really sequential, and so I decided to actually try making my own comic and
Interesting.
put those, yeah.
Yeah. That was here in the States that you went to school?
Yeah. I only moved to Germany 4 years ago or something.
Yeah. Well, so what school was it?
Cleveland Institute of Art.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do they have a comics program there? No. Yeah.
It's all sort of self-guided comics learning. Yeah.
Right. What comics were you reading when you were younger?
I read a lot of ElfQuest. I think I saw that over there.
ElfQuest,
Yeah. And then I read a lot of manga growing up. And just branched out from there.
Yeah. So you said you thought you were going to be a painter? Was that? I'm sorry, I'm a little slow this morning.
Illustration or painting or something. I wasn't really sure.
Yeah.
And then I fell in love with making comics, and I started out making little mini comics that I would staple myself and take to conventions, and then did some web comics for a while.
Yeah.
And posted them online. Yeah.
Was this originally a web comic, or was this?
No. This
okay.
was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We already have a question. Very good. Go. Please.
Why blue?
So before I made the book version of this, I did make a short little 10-page comic. It was called Indigo. And it was about a group of women who worked with this indigo dye, and I really liked the visual of their arms dyed blue. And it was just what appealed to me, the history of dyes, like right now we can make any color we want with paint or dye, but back then there were some colors like purple or blue that were so hard to make. You had to like grind up tiny little snails to make them, and it cost a fortune, and only like kings and queens and the Pope could wear purple, stuff like that. So I decided to go with a rarer color like that.
So is that why purple is associated with royalty?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. See, you learn something new every day. I love that. I love that. So you did a little mini comic version. Is that how they discovered?
I did that a couple years ago, and then I went back to doing some different genres. And in the meantime, like the young adult and middle grade comic scene really started taking off. And I decided to go back to the story idea that I had and see if I could make something longer and more. Yeah.
And so were you, had you been approached by an editor yet at this point? Or?
No, I'd just been sort of doing my own thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I found a literary agent, and then they go and find a publisher for you.
All right. We already have another question, which is very good. What do you got?
Would you make a second book of this?
I would love to if I can. I think it has to sell well enough first, but yeah, I would love to make more adventures about Hawk and Grace and their world.
Yeah.
Also, why are you holding that thing that they use?
This is a spindle. So this is what their magic is powered with. So when I was a kid, I always associated spindles with like the big wheel. Like if you've seen Sleeping Beauty, she sort of pricks her finger on this big spinning wheel. But this is actually what cloth was made out of, thread was made out of for centuries. So you take some wool like this. This is just cleaned wool from a sheep, and then you spin this, and it becomes a thread. And then they would weave that into tapestries or clothing or anything like that. So I can pass it around if people want to take a look at it. Yep, forgot about that. So it's still working?
Yeah.
Drag the chair with me.
So, because we got stepped on by the question almost, like I saw that the question was there. You put together a pitch and an agent took it around for you.
Yeah.
That's interesting because you don't really hear. How did you find an agent then?
So that's how things work for like novels or nonfiction books.
Absolutely,
But because graphic novels are really taking off, especially for kids and teenagers right now, the big publishers like Little Brown, my publisher for this, are looking for more comics, but they are used to working with these literary agents instead of working directly with the artists. So, and then the literary agent will like get you a really good contract, and they can handle all the complicated contract stuff so I don't have to.
Yeah. But I guess my question is, how did you discover the agent yourself in the first place?
So I've kept a list on my website of literary agents who represent graphic novels for quite a while. Yeah, because in the beginning there weren't that many, and I wanted to sort of help graphic novels grow and be a resource for other people.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, how many literary agents do you think there are working in comics right now?
It's grown quite a lot over the last few years, but I think it's up to maybe 80 now.
Wow.
But there are way more literary agents out there than the ones that take,
Cool, that's really cool. When you put together the pitch for this, what kind of form did it take?
I've actually, if you want to...
Let's do the
I've got
slideshow.
some of my original art for the pitch. So originally I was thinking the book would be just sort of grayscale, black and white, and then with just the blue. So if you want to go, I think the next picture, the image on the far left was part of my original pitch, and then that was my original cover idea. You can see it's still pretty similar to the final art, and then this is step by step into how we made the final cover. So the sketches, and then the posture changed for some of them, for Hawk especially. He used to be sort of from behind, and then it changed to being from the front. And then I think the one after this, So this page is actually in the book. Can I grab this? Right here. So you can see how originally I was thinking it would be black and white with just the blue as a spot color to stand out. And then the publishers wanted a full color book. So I tried to figure out a way to do sort of a limited palette color scheme. And only have the blue still show up for the magic. So throughout the book, you can see the blue only shows up when they're dealing with the magical order of women. Yeah, so there's the comparison. And this is some of my original pitch art. There's the character designs that I did. These are some of the first drawings I did for Grace when I was still figuring out what I wanted her to look like, and her costume, her outfit changed a lot. And then this is the spinning wheel at the bottom. So that's what I thought cloth was made on, but that was only invented a couple hundred years ago. So, and then this is actually process stuff, so how I made the pages.
Do you want to wait for that?
What's up to?
It's up, you may as well keep talking about it.
Yeah, so this is when I work with my editor at the publisher, I will do sort of a sketch version of the whole book. First I write the script, and then I do the sketch version with all the lettering and the text in there, so we can see what it'll look like and make sure the pacing is right and the scenes are understandable, but everyone's just a messy stick figure at that point. And so there's another spread of the sketches. You can see my really ugly tapestry. And then the next page, or the next slide. So this is the sketch, and then the inks, and then flat colors, and then the next one is the shaded colors. Yeah.
It's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
You do everything digitally.
Yeah. Everything digitally.
Completely digitally, there's more?
This is just a sneak peek at my next project, so that's separate. Yeah.
All right,
save that to the end.
We'll save that one to the end. Neat. That's cool. So, building this world. How did talk a little bit about that process?
So I grew up reading lots of stories and watching movies like Mulan about girls who would disguise themselves as boys to go and have adventures, like become soldiers or knights, things that only boys were allowed to do in those stories.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to sort of flip that on its head and think of areas that were traditionally like women's realms. And so I thought about fibers and spinning thread. That's why we have the word spinster for an old unmarried woman, is because she could like support herself just spinning thread and doing stuff like that.
Right.
So I decided to work with thread and tapestries and weaving and embroidery, stuff like that, and it sort of grew from there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you put an awful lot of time in thinking through the mythology of how the world works, of the societal structure.
Yeah.
How long of a gestation was there for this? Gestation is sort of the creating it in the long birth process.
Yeah, let's see. I think it took over a year to make the book. So I spent a couple months just sort of figuring out my world building, like all the magic system and the story and everything. And then I started writing the script, I think, in January 2018, and then I turned it in like the final pages, the final art was finished in like May 2019. So,
Wow.
like,
Wow, 18 months, yeah.
yeah, at least, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. Cool. I think I have some more, but please ask your question.
What made you make one of the characters want to be a boy but disguised as a girl, and then one of the other characters still wants to be a girl, not a boy?
So I grew up reading all these stories or watching stories like Mulan, and at the end of all of them, the girl would go back to her original life, and because she was happy as a girl, and like she would fall in love with a boy. And I'm LGBT, and I wanted to write a story with LGBT characters, and I wanted to show that, you know, gender doesn't have to be disguised. It can be like figuring yourself out. So I wanted to really draw that. And so that's why I had twins, to show, you know, they may be a lot alike, but they also have very different paths, and Grace is happy where she is. Yeah.
And how much was that baked into where you wanted to start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was one of my first ideas for the book, was wanting to show that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you gotten? I'm hoping the answer is no. You haven't gotten any pushback.
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's been really great. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I've seen a lot of really positive press on the topic.
It's fun to see. It's still only been out for a couple weeks now, so I hope it doesn't change, but I would love to, yeah. So I'd like to also, if I can, make a sequel or two. So like this is sort of her coming out story, but I'd love to just have, you know, tell more stories about Grace that aren't about coming out. You know, she can just have her own adventures. And,
How so you have three books with the stories?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm working on something else right now, but who knows? Yeah, it would be fun.
Once they got your pitch, how much back and forth was there?
So I first turned in like an outline, so a page or two of just, I figured out the story, and like this happens and then this happens, and then I had to turn that into a script, sort of like they make for movies. So character A says X, blah blah blah, and character B says blah blah blah, and then a little description of every panel. When I wrote the outline, I thought it would be 140, 160 pages, and now it's 260. So it grew quite a lot.
Yeah, it's a big, long book.
Yeah. Yep.
Was it daunting to work on a project this large, since you had been doing minis and things like that
Yeah,
before?
I did do a different, like, adult graphic novel before this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that was still 140 pages. So this is definitely my longest book.
Yeah. Is it, was it tricky for you to sustain sort of that interest for a year and a half?
Yeah, I think so, because I didn't have any problem with it. I was always working on something new. I didn't have to, say, start at page 1 and end at page 250. I could sort of go to what scene I felt was interesting.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And did you jump around the book a lot?
Yeah, a little, especially when I was doing the colors.
Yeah. Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Did you ever hit a point where like, I've drawn all the good pages, and now I've got to draw the boring stuff?
Yeah, especially I will put off drawing the pages with really complicated backgrounds, and then I'm like, shoot, now I have to draw crowds and crowds of people and stuff like that. Yeah.
The you have a very, sort of loose and fluid style, which is the manga influence, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
In the penciling stage, in the initial breakdown stage, does it go real fast for you, or are you agonizing there?
It takes a little time because I'm also figuring out like how I want, how many panels I want per page, and the composition of the page as a whole. So it takes a little longer than you'd think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So a lot of people will do like tiny thumbnails, and then they'll do their pencils, but I just combine the two. Which is
especially because you're on digital.
Yeah, digitally it's easier to do that. Yeah.
Are you doing? So we had a couple people who have done digital, and they've talked about, sort of rebuilding pages and like literally cutting a panel from one thing and moving it into another page.
Yeah, I will like backgrounds. I'll just reuse sometimes.
Sure.
Like I drew it over here, but because it's digital, I can take just the background from a panel and use it again 30 pages later and like resize it and make it fit whatever I need. So it saves a little time. Yeah. Shortcuts I think are good.
Yeah, no, I agree as well.
Yeah.
Especially on a work this big, you've got to do a certain amount of that.
Yeah.
Do you have a philosophy of like how many pages how many panels per page?
I try to do like 3 to 5 panels per page, though I will go down to much fewer, like some establishing pages with just like one panel, or a 2-page spread, with just one panel. Speed of how you read it goes up. It feels more exciting. And then normally my panels are all sort of horizontal and vertical, and then during the action scenes I sort of will allow them to become diagonal. Yeah. So the end,
for some of your eyes
so it
moving,
adds in some of the so the big fight at the end becomes a little more off kilter. Off balance.
Let me we've already had 3 questions, and I hope that didn't use them all. What do you guys got? You've always got something for me. No?
No.
Really? Oh, all right. You read? You said I read it 5 times though.
What?
You said you read it 5 times.
I did. I think it's no questions.
Great. Wow. Very good. Okay, so let's go here in the 3rd row. Yeah, you. Yep.
Why do you have like in some areas of the book you just have like everything is like normal, and sometimes it's like in just the exact same place, just with different like colors.
Do you want to give an example?
Hold up an example?
Yeah.
Like kind of
All right, you keep looking, and when you find it again, just put your hand back up, and we'll come back. We'll go you in the red jacket next, yeah?
Well, it's actually orange, but so on this page, is there any reason you thought of these symbols?
Yeah, so the top one is sort of a pot that holds the dye. So I think in this world I have it made out of a plant. So the dye mixture with the liquid and everything, and then below that I think is, can you show it to me again? Which one? Yeah, so that's the healers. I didn't get to go into the healers in this book, but I was thinking that they would do their healing with cat's cradle. Any of you know how to do cat's cradle, where you have like a string and you sort of
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
and you make shapes out of it, like you can make a ladder and like you can do it together. So I was thinking that's how they would do that. So if I get to do sequels, I'd love to go into the healers. And then this is supposed to be the weavers, sort of the threads crossing over each other. And then the spinners have the spindle that is somewhere. Yep. So that's that.
Neat.
Yeah.
Sir? Yep.
Why in some parts, the pages are black and in some other parts the pages are white?
That's actually a really good question.
Yeah, those are the night scenes.
See them on the spine of the book.
I just thought it sort of made the night scenes feel much darker. So as the sun sets, the background also becomes black to really.
And is that in your art, or is that something that's done?
Yeah, that's what I
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is one of the good things about doing digital, is that you don't have to spot your own blacks.
No, just a fill bucket in Photoshop.
Yeah. But in the old days, when people do comics manually, they literally got to go in there with a brush, and you've got to be super, super clean and meticulous, because otherwise the little tiny white spaces will come through.
Yeah.
And front row here, not front, second row. Yes, even there.
Did you purposely make earlier you talked about how like purple was like a more of a royal color? Is that why you purposely made all the walls purple?
That's part of it. So when you're coloring things, usually you use warm colors for like sun and things like that, and use cool colors like blue and purple for shadows. But because I was trying to not use blue, except for in the magic blue, I then sort of went to purples, and then it worked out really well with their noble house and using the purple there.
Was it hard removing a color from the palette?
Yeah, especially because like the sky is usually blue, but here it's green sometimes, or pink. Yeah.
Please.
Why didn't your dad kill grandfather?
She didn't agree with how he was leading the house, the noble line. She wanted to go in a different direction, different policies, different politics, and she thought she knew best, and so she went a little too far.
A little too far.
Yeah.
A little too far. You figured out what it was,
Yeah.
Yeah, like over here.
Uh-huh.
Everything is like everything is purple, but then over.
Yeah, we don't have page numbers, unfortunately.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
That's why all books should have page numbers.
Yeah, I think it's the same place, but it's more green.
I think so. Like I was saying, when you're in the shadows or something like that, the colors will change. So you'll use a sort of a warmer pinks and oranges and lighter colors in the sunlight, and then in the shadowy scenes, things become a lot cooler, bluish green, as opposed to the bright sort of lime green that you see here. Yeah.
Nice. In the back. Yes.
Is Raven their big brother or dad?
Their cousin. So he's their grandfather is sort of the leader, the lord of the house, and then because their mom already passed away, she would have been the heir, but because she passed away, it's again then goes to Raiden as the next in line survivor. Yeah, I want to talk more about their mom and stuff like that if I get to do a sequel too.
Neat.
Yeah.
In the back there, yeah, you.
Why did you want to flame Raven?
She wanted to sort of do this coup. She wanted to take over without it being obvious to the outsiders that she was the one who did it. So she blamed Raiden for it, so that she could then step in as the savior, and said that he was the one who did all of this horrible stuff, so no one would take her down.
Yep. Back to you.
Why did she keep Raiden alive?
She was trying to find out where the twins were, because they had seen that Raiden said something to them, like told them sort of a hint to where to go. And so she was trying to get that information out of him to see if she could figure out where the twins were, because they are also closer in line to inheriting. They should be that's why Hawk should be the actual lord. So she wanted to get rid of them before they could come back. Yeah.
Go ahead and follow.
Does that mean Hawk is older?
Yeah, he's the older twin. Yeah. I don't know exactly how much older, a couple of minutes or hours, I didn't really.
It doesn't look too much, yeah.
Yep.
I have a question. How would Morel kill, if they were trying to kill, Grayson or whatever, the twins, then how would they do that if she's trying to get, because she already killed, she ends up Raiden dies, so how would she get them to die without framing herself or anybody else?
I think she was trying to send out her guards and her soldiers to go do it secretly, so that no one saw her doing the dirty work. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Why did Muriel? Why did she? Why did Raiden tell the twins to stop the wheel? And then the string broke and he was gone. What sort of happened?
Yeah, so the idea was that he was being kept alive by the thread that was sort of binding him, holding him up in the air. The magic spinning thread was the same blue thread that she was learning to use from the Communion of Blue. And so by stopping the wheel, keeping him alive. Yeah.
Why did you choose Grace to be the girl who becomes really spinners and not Hawkeye?
She had always watched them, like in the first opening scene, let me see, they're out there watching the magic in the very beginning because it was Grace's idea. It was always something she wanted to do, so she watches them yearning to be part of them even then. And so when they go and hide with them, it's an opportunity that she wanted anyway.
Yeah.
So she takes advantage of it.
Yeah. In the back?
How did Grayson survive in the fire?
She surrounded herself with like a whirlpool of water, sort of a tornado of water. Yeah, from the fountain.
Yep. Go ahead.
Then how did Hawk survive?
He was off sword fighting with Morel off to the side.
I know, but it probably would have been really hot and smoky.
Yeah, he was a little far enough away to...
Or is that just a fact of the blue, there is no smoke or anything?
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about the smoke, I guess. Probably should have.
Go ahead, Guy.
But also, when they're sword fighting, if Hawk surrounds herself in water, wouldn't that damage the tapestry?
Yeah, so they were trying to protect the tapestry from the fire. So if it gets wet, it's okay because it's just fabric. It's just like getting your clothes wet. It's not going to destroy what's been woven into it. It's just going to be a little damp for a while. But the fire would destroy it. So that's why she was trying to protect herself in the tapestry.
Nice. Thought I saw one more hand up.
Thank you. Did you have your hand up?
Oh, go ahead.
The tapestry is woven out of special thread and stuff. Would it take special fire, or because the tapestry is magical, and would it take the fire made by the spinners to burn it? Or?
I didn't think so. I think it's a magic thread in that it changes what the weaving is on its own without needing to be plucked out and rewoven, but it's still just thread.
And why wouldn't she need a person from the community of blue to help her kill off all the others?
She was sort of, Audryn, the woman that she's been working with, has her own ideas also. She agrees that Morel's politics are the future that she wants. So she's been secretly working with her. But that's why she has the hood over her head in the beginning, to try and disguise herself so no one realizes that she's working with her.
In the back.
Why did she make the deal with Nero to kill all the people above Nero?
The woman from the Communion of Blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, she just agreed that she wants Morel's policy. She wants her to be the Lord. And so she was working with her.
Oh, go ahead.
So, judging by here, there are some longer parts that are in the nighttime, and then there's some shorter parts in the nighttime. Why weren't they just like the same size?
It really just depended on the scene, yeah. So I think,
Yes.
so this is sort of, in the beginning, the scenes are a little shorter as they're finding, their feet. They're learning to be in this new place, and there's only, they sort of reassure each other that they're gonna get through this, but that only, lasts for a page or two. But then as you get closer to this final chapter, this all happens in like the matter of one day.
Yeah.
There's the feast, and then they find the tapestry, and then they sneak into the sewers, and then they have the battle, and that's all over the course. That's basically one long scene, whereas in the beginning, the scenes, there's a whole lot of time passing and shorter, days, weeks like that.
Does that apply at all to the way you create the book? Do you know, it sort of sounded like at the beginning, the scenes are shorter because they're trying to figure it out, and then they get longer as they figure it out, right?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of have some montages, I guess, as they, they're there for weeks or months, in hiding, and that's why Hawk gets so, he wants to get out of there. He's, hates hiding like this, and, Grace is learning how to spin and do this magic and stuff like that. I needed to make sure that they had time to sort of both grow, and also Hawk to have time to really want to get out. He's tired of hiding. And then, just building a climax, I think it works better to have one big, epic climax, long scene.
I fully agree. Go ahead.
I have two questions. So my first question is when Hawk and Grayson, when they press hands together, is that sort of like a friendship or something?
Yeah, it's just sort of like, I think I did it because just the twin mirroring, they're still share so much, and just you can see their profiles and how alike they are in so many ways, and even if they're going in different directions, they're still, they're always going to be siblings.
And also, when you write the book, did you make up the symbols that you put in there?
Yeah. So I tried to come up with some tiny little symbol that would make sense for each of the different aspects of the Communion of Blue.
Go ahead.
How did you come up with the overall symbol of the Communion of the Blue? It's on the dresses, it's on the flag,
So there's the long line with the circle thing. That was sort of inspired by the spindle. So the same long pole with a circle at the end. The spindle that she uses has just sort of a disc at the bottom, a flat disc, but in various cultures, people have used spindles all over the world in every single continent. And there's different designs. There's some that have the disc at the top, there's some that are a round thing, there's all sorts of designs. So that was what I went with.
Did you have interest in spinning and and in history before you started working on the book, or did you develop that interest from?
I definitely had an interest in history. I've never been like a knitter or myself. My wrist is kind of weak from drawing, so I can't do too much knitting myself. But I like just the history of it. And at my art college, we did years of art history. And so that's why I think there was one of these slideshow panels had various paintings from throughout history of, this one right here,
Was there anything interesting that you learned that you couldn't put in the books?
I mean, the sort of the history of how dyes are made, I thought was really interesting. There's a lot of things I'd love to go into if I can in future books, but
Go ahead.
Was this book sort of based on your life, like what you learned in your life as you went on, or did you make it as as soon as you realized that you were going to make a book?
I think I made up most of it, but like Grace's like coming out and gathering the courage to, say who she is. I could really relate to that, when I came out as a kid or as a teen. So it was sort of the finding the strength to, stand up and be like, this is who I am. I drew from my own experiences when I was writing that part. Yeah. Did you want to?
Oh, yeah, I didn't see.
Why is, on this page, when Grace is spinning, why does the background change color?
That was trying to show time passing. So that was sort of days passing, and she's getting more and more confident with how she's learning to spin. So in the beginning, she's really awkward, and she drops it, and it comes apart in her hands. But then she sort of starts to stand up straighter, and she's more confident in how she does it because of practice. So.
How much do you think that body language in comics is key?
Definitely a huge part. Because they were twins, especially, I wanted the reader to be able to tell, oh, this is Grace, like even or this is Hawk, just from looking at how they hold themselves. So Hawk, stands with his legs spread, and he's really confident and brash and sort of one-track mind, while Grace is a little quieter and, meeker. But as time passes for her, she also begins to stand up straighter because she's not hiding anymore. She feels a lot more comfortable in how, like, her new dress and being seen as who she is.
Yeah. How often do you like go and find a mirror to like?
I don't know if I look in a mirror, but I act it out, sort of like my face is always, making weird expressions as I draw, just to get a grin right, or a weird, like, sobbing.
Yeah.
So it's good that I don't have an audience when I'm actually drawing.
I love it. Please.
So when you created the part where they're talking and Hawk and Grayson, and then they're using their real names, and then the Kalia says it was you. Did they know her beforehand?
Yeah, so they knew her. They were friends growing up, and then she joined the Communion of Blue a couple of years ago, and they haven't really seen her since because she's been living with this group of women. But she recognized them even through their disguise. And so they're like, oh no, she's going to give us away and tell people that we're hiding here, but she agrees to keep their secret.
Do any of the parents have any questions? Because sometimes the parents have the best questions. No? Yeah, go ahead.
Are you able to draw and write full time? Do you have to support yourself in another way?
I do comics full time now, For quite a while I was doing like book cover design. I do still work on other people's comics, like Molly Ostertag's The Witch Boy. I helped do the flat colors for that. There's a book behind you, Cronin, that I inked, actually.
Okay.
So I do work on other people's work sort of freelance, but I love to do my own work when I can and prioritize that.
Is it difficult for you being in Germany in terms of, when people here are awake, you're asleep, the time difference?
Yeah, it's always interesting waking up to find out what might have happened in the U.S. overnight.
Right.
What went wrong or what went right. But usually, it just means I turn in my work a little early because for me, my deadline is
Right.
noon for them. So
Right.
it just means I hit deadlines earlier than expected.
Okay. Go ahead.
Why did Miro come to the communion of blue? Was it for something that was important, or was it for looking for the twin?
She was looking for the tapestry because she had found out from this other woman that she was working with that there was another tapestry that would give her away and reveal that Raiden was still alive. And so she was trying to sneak in and destroy it before people thought to look for it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Why in this page does the background go black?
It was sort of just abstract, like the world sort of sinks away and all that is important is Grace, and the blue seeping down through the fabric to show that she has the magic ability to work with the magic dye. Yeah.
Yeah, because color can really tell you what moods and feelings are, and for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who are some of the authors that you like to read?
Most of the people on this shelf right here. Melanie Gilman, Molly Ostertag. There's so many great books coming out right now that are LGBT and young adult and middle grade right now that are really inspiring. Sarah Searle, all sorts of people. Yeah, it's really good to see.
So, your mom is here. This is the first time that cartoonist's mom has ever been here, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I am super interested. When she told you she was going to be doing comics for a living?
Well, that was kind of a gradual process.
Okay. So there was no. Oh, you can't make money doing that. Find something better to do. No.
I have to say she's the daughter of two scientists, so
Yes.
having an artist in the family is quite a switch.
Yeah.
That's
But
nice.
she was drawing from early age all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So we weren't surprised that she wanted to go to art school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my parents were both scientists, and my wife is also a scientist. So they can talk science while I do theirs. So.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to do comics without my wife having a stable, reasonable job.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please.
Have you seen your wife?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. She's German. That's why I moved to Germany a couple of years ago.
Yep. Very good. Anybody else? Okay, well then you said you're working on something else.
Yeah.
Is it a thing you want to talk about?
I can't say too much because it hasn't been announced yet, but
Okay.
this is a sneak peek at my new characters for it. So
Okay.
this is not a fantasy story. It takes place in the real world.
Okay.
So sort of inspired by my youth growing up in Kansas.
Okay.
So,
Is it also a kid's book?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Same age range, maybe
Okay.
a couple years older. But
Okay.
it's upper middle grade.
So do you see yourself as a kid's author?
Right now, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to try different genres
Yeah.
and bounce around. But right now, I'm really enjoying writing for this age. Like middle school is a time where you figured out a whole lot about myself, and I feel like it's really it's a fun age to write. Yeah.
It's a fun age to be too. I
Yeah.
think. Hard age to be sometimes, but
Yeah.
fun. Good. Is there more here or just
Just that right now.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't want to give too much away
Okay.
before
Is-
my
how-
publisher announces it.
How far away do you think it might be?
I think it'll come out at the end of next year.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And it's already got a publisher.
Yes, same publisher.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm already halfway done inking it.
All right.
So, but
Nice.
it
Nice.
takes a while to make comics.
Yeah.
so.
It does. It does. Can you give us a title? No.
No,
Nothing.
nothing
at
yet,
all. All right,
sorry.
All right. That's good.
Yeah, but I've been working on it. So I turned this in last May.
Yeah.
And then his book didn't come out until January.
Sure.
So I've been working on this new book since then. Yeah.
Since May. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Did you have a question? I thought you had your hand up. No? Okay. Just scratching your head. Okay. Cool. So you said you want to do a sequel for this. Have you started any kind of work on it, like just the preliminary?
Yeah, I did like an outline of what I think the story would be.
Okay.
But for now, we're working on this other book.
Yeah. Would you then, after this book comes out, then work on the sequel here, or?
Maybe. I mean, it depends really on if the publisher wants it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, let's assume that they
yeah.
do. Let's assume that they're like, no, we want more, because
Yeah.
we want more, right? You guys want more, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody likes it, so that's
to
really
hear.
good. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really fun to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a huge turnout too. This is
It's great.
Like we had overflow
awesome.
chairs, right?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen very often. So.
Yeah, because I live in Germany right now, in Europe. I don't get to actually meet my readers. So
Yeah.
this is really wonderful to see people who've read the book. I am already actually signed up for a different book
Okay.
to come after with a different publisher that
Okay.
I'm just drawing and somebody else is writing.
Okay.
But yeah.
So it might
So I
be.
have a whole bunch of things lined up,
Yeah.
but who knows? I can also work on multiple
Sure,
books
sure,
at
sure.
once if,
Sure, but it
the
might
need
be
be. Yeah, who
2
knows?
years
Yeah, it might
or
be.
yeah. Okay.
who knows? Publishing is so slow, so
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
be. Yeah. All right.
it takes a lot of work to do a comic.
It is a lot of work to do a comic, but it's worth it at the end, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you have this beautiful book,
Yeah.
and people who are telling you, "Wow, this is great," and it touched me, and
Yeah.
I thought it was smart, and I felt these characters, like these characters felt really real to me. Did they feel really real to you guys?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I identified with them, and even though it's not my world at all, but that's the great thing about comics, right? Is they can give you somebody's perspective
Yeah.
and put you in someone's head
Yeah.
in a way that I don't think other media do in the way that comics
Yeah,
do.
it's interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to write and make them.
Yeah. Lettering is digital, so it can easily be translated.
Yes.
Have you gotten any translation?
I don't think so yet, but I would love to see it come out in Europe because then I can easily travel around. And, see that, do different conventions there.
Yeah.
But
Is there a German comics industry?
a small one.
Okay.
Germany is smaller than Texas, so
Yeah.
there's a much smaller.
Texas is
comics
pretty
in-
big.
Yeah,
So
but Germany is pretty small.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know any German artists. Who's
There's a couple, yeah. I don't know if there's a lot being released over here,
Sure,
though.
sure.
Yeah.
Because usually European
Yeah, there's a
comics
huge
are French and
yeah,
Belgian, Spanish,
Yeah.
but you don't usually
Yeah.
hear. I don't know that I've ever heard.
Yeah, there's a couple, I can't think of the books off the top of my head, but I think they're slowly getting releases over here. I think Lerner Books is putting one out next
Okay.
year. Yeah,
Okay.
a couple. But
Are there comics conventions?
yeah, there's definitely comics and anime and manga conventions over there, but they're not as big as like San Diego Comic Con
Right,
or
no, of
anything
course
like
not.
that.
Yeah. How about
Yeah.
or Angoulême for that matter?
No,
Right.
yeah.
How about comic shops? Are there comic shops
Yes,
in Germany?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're usually combined with game shops. Or
Right. Sure.
things
Sure.
like
Sure.
that, yeah.
Are they the French kind of comic shops where it's mostly bound books, or do they bringing in American comics too?
There are floppy comics
Mm-hmm.
like this, but they're imported. Yeah. So they don't print them themselves
Sure,
usually.
no,
So they're often just importing the English
Yeah, yeah.
versions. But I like to try and buy German graphic novels, German editions of American graphic novels too,
Yeah.
just to practice my German
Yeah,
since
yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
But comics are a good way to practice.
They are. Yeah. Anybody else got anything for us? Going once? Going twice? Great. I want to thank you for coming out, for
Yeah.
coming all the way out
Yeah,
to come and
this
talk
was
to these
great.
guys. This really is, it's a fantastic book, and if you guys are watching at home and you really want something good to read, this is action packed, and it has a heart, and it tells a great fantasy story, and it's got a wonderful mythology and powerful characters, and it's just a beautiful book. And so if you're at home get yourself a copy of The Deep and Dark Blue. Next month's book is Bug Boys by Laura Netzker. Laura Netzker, I should say. This is a cool book. You guys are going to like that a lot. And for those of you who are here in the room, you can pick it up right now. Everybody else has to wait another week.
Gorgeous edition.
It is a gorgeous edition too, right? Like hardcover, very nice. Yeah. So I don't remember the date of the conversation. I'm sorry. I should be more organized than that. But that'll be next month's talk, and I think you guys are going to really like this book too. Otherwise, though, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for coming out. Thank your mom for having you, so we would have this comic book.
Yeah.
And thanks for everybody watching at home, and we'll talk to you guys next month.